Hello everyone, welcome along to another video here on the channel. My name is Ash and today I'm going to take you through my Barcelona Career Mode tactics. If you're new to the channel, welcome along, thanks for joining in. What we're going to do in this video today is I currently on the channel have a series ongoing. It is a Barcelona Xavi Realistic Career Mode series, and in that I am using these 4-3-3 tactics. Now some people have asked me about the tactics and what they are and stuff. On this channel we do go into custom tactics as well. We do a lot of tactics videos where we recreate real systems. So today I'm going to take you through what my career mode tactics are, with a little bit of a sticky start, but what we did is we altered the tactics, really worked around with them a bit, and now we've hit some form and have really settled on this system. So this is one that I'm really looking forward to getting into today. As always, if you aren't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so that you get notifications every time I upload a video. And also don't forget to check out my Patreon, where you can get access to my FIFA 22 custom tactics package, as well as lots of other perks and rewards such as Discord server access, behind the scenes videos, early access to videos, all that great stuff. On that note, let me talk to you about the tactics. So then, first things first, we've got a 4-3-3 and it's very much that free-flowing possession style game. Bit of a mix between that tiki-taka and sort of positional play approach. You've got a mixture of everything really, and we try and really combine the two to make it, as I say, just as free-flowing and attacking of a tactic that is going to allow us to control possession but dictate games, which is the most important thing. So we've got a 4-3-3 system here. And as you can see, I've actually changed a couple of positions. First things first, the fullbacks have been changed to wingbacks, and what that does is it gets them wider and further forward as well. They're a very important part of the team, are the fullbacks, and they've got a very demanding role, because as wingbacks they're going to have to do a lot more running than they would as fullbacks. They're going to be overlapping as well, so they're going to require a lot of stamina, and they have to be very all-rounded in that regard. It then allows us to get our wingers cutting inside more, which will come more onto in the player instructions. Then with Ricky Puig in this case, but the left central midfielder, he's actually moved up to cam, and what this does is it gives you one flat central midfielder on the right who's more of a deep line playmaker, and then one midfielder who gets into those advanced areas, more those advanced pockets of space, like to do their work a bit further up the pitch, might occasionally drift into the box as well. So think of it as like, you've really got that trio of Barcelona players from that Pep Guardiola style. So you might have Busquets at defensive midfield, which is Frenkie de Jong in this case. Then you have the deep line playmaker, which would have been Xavi, and then someone like Anderson Iniesta, who did his work further at the pitch in those advanced pockets. So there was a bit of inspiration from that. It allows the team to be less passive as well, because you've got more players working in those areas. When you got a flat central midfield free, it is a bit harder to get those attacking moves formulated in the central areas. So what about the tactics themselves? Well, we have press after possession loss here. Now originally this was on constant pressure, but we were just leaking so many goals defensively, we decided to switch this back to press after possession loss. Now I hope that as the team gets better and improves, don't forget we've got a lot of 70 rated players in and out of the side at the moment. As the team progresses in ratings, maybe I can then change this to constant pressure, but for now, in a general sense, it is on press after possession loss to recreate more of a counter pressing tactic than that extreme gegenpressing system. The width defensively is on 10, and it gets the team very narrow and prevents the opposition from playing through you as much as possible. Yes, you do sacrifice space out on the wings, but that's okay, because the opposition can't hurt you from that position. At some point they've got to move the ball inside, and in that case then your team is so compact that they're ready, hopefully, for those moves into the central areas of the pitch. Now the depth is on 80, and this was again a change that I made after I changed it from constant pressure back to press after possession loss, because he was on 100, but when we got players like PK, for example, it was hurting them. Plus our defenders, particularly the centre backs, the likes of Araujo, Mingueza, etc., still aren't at that level where they're fully formed and fully developed yet, so their pace is still developing. And as a result, once we get them a bit faster, maybe we can generally boost this lineup, in the majority of games. But until then, I keep this on 80, and it still gives you a high line and helps to instigate that counter press. With the offensive side of the ball, we've got slow build up to make sure players are showing for the ball and dropping off into those short passing options as much as possible in the defensive half, and then chance creation is possession. Again, you've got more of this. As I said, it's a mixture of tiki-taka and positional play, and what we're going to do to try and give that vertical emphasis in the way we approach our attacks is you alter it based on the team and player instructions. On the player instructions, you're able to create a lot more movement, which in itself means that you're going to be able to vertically attack the opposition a whole lot more than what you would on possession. Then with width, it's down to 20, and what this does is it really compacts the team. Now, some people do ask me in these videos is how is it that you can stretch the opposition in? Because that's what good possession tactics do so well, is that they stretch the opposition and try and create gaps, or they create space for their men out wide. Well, how we do this is by changing the fullbacks to wing back. Then what you find is they get very wide, and as a result, they're pretty much on the touchline either side. So then you've got that out ball, and then you can work from there. You find them in a lot of space, and it gives you options for them give and goes. You find a lot of interchanges with the central midfielders as well. Really helps us stretch the opposition as much as possible. So that's another reason why having those wing backs is very important to the system. The players in the box is up to 7, and as you'll see from the diagram here, it means we've got roughly 3 to 4 players. So you hope it's going to be the front 3 generally, Depay, Demir and Ansu Fati in this case. Of course, you've got the likes of Dembele filtering in there as well, and also occasionally someone like the attacking midfielder might go into the box as well. Now, we'll talk about this a little bit here. Depay is actually a false 9, which means sometimes he'll drop off, and then that will mean the attacking midfielder will fill in for him and get into the box when he needs to as well. So you're going to have roughly 3 to 4. Remember, you're not crossing the ball in so much. It's important to note that you know, a lot of the crosses are really cutbacks, and that's where we're really getting men into box. With corners and free kicks, the corners up to 4 to give me enough options in those corner situations where you'll have 2 men back but still more players in the box. Generally though, I do take short corners, so that's worth bearing in mind as well. I like to give it to someone like Dembele or Ricky Puig who show for the ball short and then work the ball inside. A little bit of trickery, a little bit of body feints, and then movement from there. Whereas with the free kicks, it's down to 2 to support that possession game. Generally, when it's free kicks, I don't actually whip the ball in. I like to keep the ball and keep the attack going. So therefore, with it 2, you'll have more players on the edge of the box and outside the box, and then you can just play it off and retain possession. Just keep the attack going that way. So then that's it for the tactics. Let me talk to you about the player instructions. Starting off with ter Stegen in goal. He's on comes acrosses and sweeper keeper. He's going to help support that high defensive line, but also with comes acrosses, it relieves a bit of pressure from you as well. You know, goalkeepers are quite OP on this game. When they do come out to claim the ball in those crossing situations, very, very rarely do I see them you know, not coming away with the ball, getting knocked off, for instance, which we see does happen quite easily in real life. So it does relieve a bit of pressure from you in that sense. And then with the 2 centre-backs, ended up reverting this back to normal. Anyone who's watched the series will know that we did actually change the interceptions on one of the centre-backs to aggressive. But because we had such a high line and not enough protection for them, it's better to only do that when you've got 3 centre-backs and you set one of them onto aggressive. When you've got 2, you're playing a bit more of a risky game on FIFA. So we ended up reverting this back to normal. The 2 wing-backs have the exact same roles. They're both on join the attack and overlap, and that's very much just filtering in with what we've spoken about already in terms of them, you know, not only creating as much width as possible, but getting forward as well, supporting those attacking moves. So bearing in mind that the likes of De Jong and Gavi in central midfield will hopefully be covering for them when they get forward, but we will talk about that a little bit more right now. So moving on to Frenkie De Jong in defensive midfield, he's got a very important role. And I messed around with this a lot. We originally had this on drop between defenders, and I was noticing that it was hurting us a little bit in the attacking phase. And then we switched it to stay back while attacking, and then, you know, it really felt like there weren't enough protection for the wing back. So we've actually reverted it back to drop between the defenders. Because what this does, it basically helps you to form a back 3, and that gives more license to the wing backs to get forward. So it does a great job of covering in, supports your centre backs as well, helps to prevent balls from being played in behind, and also it helps in the possessional game because De Jong is so good at picking the ball up from deep and really spearheading attacks from there, and this plays a part into that. With defensive behaviour, it's on man mark. Now, I've generally made a thing this year, or in all FIFAs really, how man mark defensive behaviour just doesn't work. However, for some reason, since I've been playing with this tactic, I had him on cut passing lanes originally, and we were just finding too much space, the opposition was, in our defensive third. Whereas when I changed it to man mark, it did help limit it a bit. So I don't know what exactly is the reasoning behind that, because I haven't noticed him sticking too tight to men. However, I think it just means he doesn't drift from his position as much, and that's what we like. And part of that is also from having on cover centre. You don't want him getting dragged out wide. You want to keep him in these central areas and make sure you limit the space for any attacking and central midfielders on the opposition team to not get the ball on the edge of the area, which is just such an annoying and deadly thing in FIFA this year. Finally, with positioning freedom, he's on free roam, and that's going to help to replicate this role of the deep lying playmaker, showing for the ball always. Really plays him well with this drop between the defenders, because you've got someone who's always looking to show for the ball at all areas, whether your goalkeeper's got it, your centre-backs, your central midfielders, wing-backs, whoever it is. You know, he's always providing an option, and this just absolutely gets the best out of him. I think his role is one that I'm really pleased with, more than any others in this system. So let's move on to the more advanced central midfielders then. First off, with Xavi, who's playing the deep lying playmaker in this case. He is also at CM rather than RCM, so just worth bearing that one in mind to keep him in those central areas. I don't really like him being dragged out wide too much. So with attacking support, it's stay back, and we can supplement that with support on crosses, stay on the edge of the box. As that deep line playmaker, you don't want him getting around too much. He really acts as that pivot, possessional pivot. A lot of possession rests on this central midfielder right here. So whenever attacks break down a little bit, you need a little bit of support, you want to recycle and go again in the upper third, he's there to do that. When he's committing, all of a sudden you'll find a massive gap in between the likes of De Jong, who of course has dropped in between the defenders, and then your attackers as well. His positioning freedom is on stick to position, again for the similar reason that acting as that pivot, we don't want him drifting around too much and coming too deep. We want him there in the middle. And then defensive position is cover wing. He should be on cover wing because obviously De Jong is on cover centre. So when you've got the likes of Dest and Alba in this case going forward and committing, he's going to cover them for them when he needs to. So what about the attacking midfielder then, Riqui Puig in this case? Well, defensive support is come back on defence. It's worth bearing in mind though that he shouldn't be having to track back loads because naturally you should have possession more. And we'll talk about tips really for the tactic at the end of the video. His support on crosses is unbalanced, and that plays into the role of these tactics as well, where you see we had to have players in the box on 7, so it was roughly 3 to 4. So sometimes he will get in the box, sometimes he won't, and that gives you a good bit of variation. In particular, it mainly relies on Memphis Depay and what he's done with his false 9 role as well, whether or not he's actually in the box or he's too deep. His positioning freedom is also on stick to position, and part of that is again part of that positional play where we don't want too many players in each zone. As a result, it gives us more areas in the centre of the pitch. He's really come in his own since coming into this attacking midfield position. I think part of that is because we don't have him on free roam. We always have him in those advanced areas, and that's what we're looking for most from him to impact the game. So moving on to the 3 attackers then. The 2 wingers do have the same instructions, so we'll talk about them first. They're both on comeback on defence to make sure they do trap back when they need to. And then their chance creation is on cut inside, and that's supplemented them by being on getting behind on their support runs as well. So as the 2 wing backs will overlap and look to get forward, then it gives the opportunity for Demir and Fati in this case to angle their runs and cut inside. And with the pie dropping off, as we'll talk about very shortly, this is how you're going to get a lot of threat on the opposition goal. It's very much sort of representative of what it was like when Messi played as the false 9 here many years ago, and the likes of Pep Guardiola, and you had the wingers, the likes of Pedro and Alexis Sanchez, etc., David Villa, all of these guys running in behind, utilising their clever movement and their pace as well, you know, to really mess and penetrate the opposition back line. And finally, with support on crosses, both of these guys are on getting to the box for the cross as well. So finally then, with Memphis Depay, he's on stay central, again playing into that positional play type system. We don't want him drifting out wide. That's really the job of the wing-backs and the wingers to really man those areas. In this case, he drops off as well with the false 9 role in the centre positions, and then the likes of Demir, Fati, maybe Riqui Puig as well, will get in behind him. And it really messes with the opposition because the centre-backs don't track him. They don't want to be you know, dropping off or pushing up 20-30 yards to follow him. So he finds a lot of space, and then he can work the ball from there. You know, he's been very good since we've made him this false nine role. He's really coming to his own, scoring a lot of goals as well, getting on the ball more, getting into more positions, winning a lot of fouls as well. So it's worth bearing that one in mind. Finally, defensive support is on stay forward. This is going to allow you to play up to him and then play off him when you need to, and you're looking to hit teams on the counter attack. In addition to this, I also have an attacking tactic as well. If we're really pushing for the goal towards the end of the game, we really desperately need a goal. I don't have one defensive because I don't think Barcelona and any manager and players, teams with these styles, really do have a defensive system. They'll just keep to their principles. But when they're attacking and really need a goal, they might commit even more. So on the attack, we do have a couple of changes. First things first, defensive style changes to constant pressure as we really try and push for that goal. The depth of the defensive line is then pushed up to 100, and the width is then moved up to 20, and that's to really supplement this press as much as we can. Again, this is used for where you're really gung-ho, you're desperate for a goal in the last few minutes or so, and so you're willing to throw more caution to the wind. As well as that, we also increase the players in the box up to 9 this time. This is going to give you roughly 4 to 5. It might help with a wing back or the central midfielder, in this case a deep line playmaker, getting into the box as well. And then the corners are also pushed up to 5 as well, but it's really going to push almost all of your players into that box. Finally, with the central midfielder, the deep line playmaker, we have him on balanced attack and then get into the box for the cross as well. So then, that rounds it off by the tactic. In terms of some tips on how to play, I would say generally, 1, look after possession as much as possible. Lots of, you know, quick passing movements. If the attack breaks down, just start again. Don't try and force it if you don't want to. Keep control of possession. You know, on top of that, when you are trying to formulate attacking move, lots of give and goes, 1-2s, just lots of movement and quick passing. You know, make sure to try and decide who you're passing to before you even get the ball. You want these sort of moves determined beforehand, and that's going to allow you to break the opposition down. I'd also advise you, and it's something that I've used a lot this year on FIFA, to use teammate contain. It is RB or R1 on the classic controls, although I have actually altered my control settings so that it's now A to make it easier to press, and as a result what it will do is you'll get a second teammate to close down the opposition, whoever's on the ball, and it really helps with your press. So if you're looking to press more effectively, that is definitely something you should do. Right then, that's just about it for this video then, guys. If you have enjoyed it, please do subscribe to the channel, drop a like and ring the bell so you get notifications every time I upload. Don't forget to check out that Barcelona series as well if you haven't done so already. And on top of that, have a look at all the links in the description, such as my Patreon, where you can get access to a host of great rewards and perks, as well as the links to my Twitter. Give me a follow on there, and my second channel, Brahma Ball, where we cover Football Manager 2022 videos. Don't forget to check out the affiliate links in the description as well, where you can get access to all of my custom PC gaming parts, as well as all of my different equipment, all that good stuff. Great way to support the channel, as I do get a little kickback, but you don't have to pay any extra. Let me know if you got any questions about the tactic at all in the comment section, and I will get back to you. And on that note, we're going to round it off there. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you soon.